Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intimate Talks interview series with Asi Efros. Our special guest today is Susanna Koelblin, a world-renowned specialist on sustainability and circularity. Susanna collaborates with global fashion brands to enable them meet their sustainability and circularity goals. So nice to have you with us today, Susanna. I've been wanting to speak to you for the longest time, and I've seen so many of your amazing posts about all things sustainable, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Asi, for having me, and it's my pleasure to talk to you. So lately, I have been working quite a lot because lots of things are changing. Actually, everything changed during the last year because we were based on personal meetings. As you know, in the fashion industry, everybody is very tactile. So in the end, they want to see and feel the fabrics. The feeling is more important than only to seeing. And the last time we have been at the fair was in February at Premier Vision in Paris. And since then, we are locked in, except in China. In China, they already have fashion fairs again.
Yes.
So we are now locked in, and it's not easy to give the customers the feeling of the fabrics when they do not know the material. So it's really difficult to give them or describe them the feeling. So we have to send around a lot of fabric samples. And then on the other hand, you are never sure that you really send the right samples, because also the professional buyers, they are often not able to describe exactly or in a way that you understand what they are looking for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I hear both opinions from people who think that 3D imaging and new 3D technologies that have to do with like kind of new acquired tactile experience showing fabrics on the screen is enough. You know, younger generation, I feel like they are okay with technology and the way it portrays fabrics. But then on the other hand, I'm in this really tactile community that really needs to feel everything.
It depends also on the fashion type you're working in. When you are working in sportswear, then the tactile feeling of an outdoor jacket is perhaps not that important as the water permeability or non-permeability. So when you are working in the fashion industry for ladies wear, and especially elegant ladies wear, where you have like the long drapey dresses, then it is very important how the fabric feels. Yes. So it's easier for some of the collections and more difficult for others. And unfortunately, our material is exactly in ladies wear, in the elegant luxury ladies wear, also normal women's wear, but in women's wear, you always have the very tactile feeling that is very important.
Yes, no, I know. And I come from lingerie world where everything is close to the body. So yes, for lingerie designers, it's like super important.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, also for the nightwear.
Yes, and nightwear, loungewear, everything. Yes, all these categories. I love the picture of your forest behind you. I think this is, I think it epitomizes everything you do. It's like you do it for that, to have trees in the forest.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to ask you, I ask everyone that, and I love this question. Who are your mentors? Like myself, I had so many mentors throughout my life. I mean, mentors like people, artists. Like I'm fascinated with Van Gogh. So Van Gogh is my one of my mentors, because I used to come very close to his paintings in the museum and see like every little stroke, every color. So that's how I learned. But then throughout my life, I had many different mentors. Who were yours?
So unfortunately, I did not meet Van Gogh. And as I heard, he was quite some crazy guy in the end, at least.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, the pictures are great. The technique, really nice. And in Amsterdam, there is the Van Gogh Museum. Have you been there?
Yes,
It's really nice. Yeah.
absolutely.
So my first mentor was my grandmother. And I learned from her how to make out of nearly nothing a lot. She inspired me a lot because she is coming from Italy, and where most of the women were savvy in sewing, and she worked then in a hand embroidery manufacturing in Switzerland for famous Swiss embroidery dresses that were worn throughout Europe by the highest society, from the kings in France and the high society in London. So everywhere you had the real nice garments. And she brought to me all the knowledge about mending clothes or making clothes out of, for example, menswear, old menswear clothes I turned into my clothes.
Yes.
I was shopping in the secondhand stores, and at those days, the secondhand stores were full of really nice things. And I took menswear or also window curtains, and I made them into dresses. It was really very special when I had a new dress and it came out breaking apart because of the light destroyed the fabric before in his first life as a curtain. So you were sitting down one time and then it was already done.
Oh my God. That's an amazing story. But you sewed, right? You sewed, you made your own clothes. So you know how to sew and
Yes, this was my big hobby. I sewed a lot of clothes. I had a jeans jacket with like 60 embossed metallic pieces, and I sold it in Zurich for like 100 times. And I really had to pay attention that I don't sew too many items, because I had to learn for my school still. So I went then into the fashion industry, and I studied fashion management in Germany and became a fashion professional. Yes, and then after studies, my mentor, my second big mentor, was a lady, a fashion buyer, who introduced me to the real world, the business world, and this was very inspiring as well. So she helped me to work with foreign cultures, because I was working for the biggest retailer in Switzerland, who at those times was the biggest seller of fashion. It's a company that is doing 30 billion US dollars turnover. And we were changing the sourcing to direct sourcing. So we traveled to China, to India, this was in the 90s. And I learned a lot from her how to talk to, for example, Indian people, so that you get the product that you want and in the quality that you want, on time, and in the right look. So there I learned a lot. And she also introduced me to talk to the internal stakeholders, because they were not less complicated, because in the end they had to sell the garments that I created and sourced in Asia and Europe. They had to sell them in the stores. So you had to get their buying for your collections. Otherwise, no chance that they will sell them well.
What did she teach you about business side?
One of the major accomplishments from her side was structure. And she always said, do you want to buy a t-shirt, one arm from one supplier, the body from the second one, and the other arm from the third supplier? Do you need 3 suppliers for one t-shirt?
Right.
So she said to me, make or organize the suppliers in a way that you have 2 suppliers for the same garment, and you do not need more suppliers. This is enough. And then you can work in a way that is impactful because you have the right quantity, the right amount of styles, and the right buying power with a supplier, and he will service you much better.
That is such an amazing advice. I've just dealt with a lot of companies that source and source and source without stop, and then I think integrity of communication loses a lot because if you have 6 suppliers, I feel like these companies don't have to be loyal to any one of them, and it doesn't create long-standing. Like I believe in long-standing relationships with suppliers, especially. Just like everyone benefits from it. Garments are better, the work flow is easier, and communication is much easier. Everyone knows what to expect from each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's always a give and take in a business relationship. And in the end, and this I feel still today, the fashion industry is small. So you have a reputation to lose if you are not fair to a supplier.
Absolutely.
And you can be much fairer if you have a certain standing, a certain amount that you buy with a supplier. Then you can really discuss if you have a problem, how do we deal with it? How can we manage it together?
Yes. Yes.
And also we at Migros, we believed in long-standing relationships. For example, when we, in the 90s, I already had contact with sustainability. This buzzword was not there yet. I didn't know that this is sustainability, but we were working with ILO, with the International Labour Organization, on the Code of Conduct. And we were building schools with the owner of factories in South India so that the children go to school and have not to work in the factory. So this is what we organized together with the best suppliers. And then the children could go to school to learn English, and it was really funny because one time I was at the airport in India, and then the chauffeur came with his daughter and his son, and he himself, he did not speak any English, but the children, they were like 9-10 years old, they were talking English to me.
Oh, nice. Wow. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
But so in the 90s, yeah, I remember we were not sustainable, and we didn't even talk about it. The knowledge was not available. How did you come across this problem? Or like, did you see this problem kind of very specifically or just intuitively?
Where I work, this retailer is a big food retailer, and already in the 90s, they started to introduce organic food. And from the food, it spilled over to the textiles. And we were working with the Indian government. They already had the initiative of eco-friendly production. So this meant do not use any azo dye stoves to clean up your wastewater. Your workers have to have a working contract, and then you have to provide everything what is in the code of conduct, like clean air, clean water, enough ventilation, enough light, working contract, and so on. So we were working as the first worldwide on the standards for social manufacturing of clothing. And from there, I learned a lot, only that I didn't know that this was called sustainability. The word was not available by then. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I wonder if you find now in lingerie world or any other category of fashion, what are the companies that you feel that are kind of attending to the subject of sustainability in the right way? I know it's a huge subject, but who in your opinion and why is doing something rather right, more right than wrong?
This is a good expression. Who is doing more right than wrong? Because it's
Yes.
really not easy. What is right and what
Yes.
is wrong?
Yes, it's still not clear. I know.
Yeah, the word sustainability itself has no concrete legal definition what it is. And that's why we can apply here the term of sustainability to any system designed to balance a state so that we do not harm the world, we do not harm the planet when we do something. So this is sustainability. Then I have to say today, I think not one company in fashion or textiles is doing a sustainable job, nor in other industries. It's really very difficult to produce something that does not harm the world.
Interesting. Interesting.
But many stakeholders in textiles try to reduce their impact. The whole industry is an oil tanker, and you cannot stop it at once. So it stops only very, very slowly, and it takes time. I had a lot of discussions with my customers, and mostly big customers, and they say they are really looking for sustainable materials, but with their quantities they need, they have no chance to find a real good sustainable material that is already scaled up. So big brands, they want to reduce their footprint, but it's not easy. It's really difficult. And medium-sized brands often want to reduce their footprint by using polyester. And polyester is not a good material when you look how long it lasts, especially after usage, how long polyester is still in the world.
Yes.
And sustainability is not for free. It costs. You cannot take or get a new material for the same price or a lower price with a higher sustainability. This does normally not exist. So that's why sustainability is really looked for in companies that have big returns. Those are the luxury companies and fast fashion companies. And fast fashion companies, this might sound a little bit strange, they have a business model that is certainly harmful because they are producing so many clothes. But on the other hand, they really invest money into innovation for sustainable materials and sustainable business models. As an example, I want to talk about H&M. H&M is investing with his H&M Collab into 12 different companies right now, and they are all in developing new materials or reselling garments, for example, new business models, so that we get more sustainable clothes. But it really takes time. So the latest investment of H&M is Worn Again, who is establishing a recycling on a chemical base to make out of worn out garments new yarns and garments again.
And do you find this method of upcycling really sustainable? Like taking, because the word chemicals, I guess, kind of scares me a little bit. So so I feel like you take clothes and add a lot of chemicals, and then what? Yes, you make yarn, but then it still has to be cleaned, right? The solution, whatever comes out of the process has to be cleaned thoroughly, right? So it's kind of closed loop process, I hope.
You are right, it has to be cleaned, but what is in the process is normally a mixed material, a material that you cannot recycle today, and it would land on landfill. So you have the choice, either you do the chemical recycling, which then gives you really the virgin quality of the material back, or you put it on landfill. Because today, for example, polyester garments are not recyclable, only on small scale. What we get as recycled polyester today in the fashion industry is all made out of PET bottles. And it has nothing to do with being a former garment that is recycled into polyester again. This does not yet exist.
Right.
It does exist in a small scale, but not in a big scale. So we have always to be aware what is recycling. And chemical recycling saves a lot of energy and has in the total a positive impact on the planet when you use chemical recycled materials again.
Interesting. And if you compare that method of recycling to mechanical, because some companies like Alien Fisher, they use kind of mechanical way of I guess, recycling. What do you feel? And in my mind, of course, I always kind of worry in this type, like energy that is used to then recycle mechanically. How sustainable is the whole process?
Mechanical recycling as chemical recycling, it always depends on the material we are talking about. And then you have to see what kind of quality you get. With the chemical recycling, you get the virgin quality. With the mechanical recycling, I was just talking to a colleague. He told me in Prato you have wool recycling. This wool recycling is then a short fiber recycling. You can use it for knitting, but it's not possible to weave. When you want to weave, you have to enforce it with polyester again. So you have then again a mixed material with polyester thread. And when you look at polyester itself, the mechanical recycling that you are doing with the PET bottles, this is actually a perfect recycling because you use less energy to produce the recycled new yarn again instead of making from oil the new yarn. So it's better. But on the other hand, you take it out of the bottle loop, because you could, out of a PET bottle, you could make another PET bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So you could make like infinitively PET bottles.
Right.
And you take out the part on the on a garment side, then you have to do more PET bottles out of oil again.
Now I understand. You actually clarified a lot of things which are not obvious.
Uh,
Because yeah, I consider myself kind of sustainability activist, but I I don't want to be such an activist that promotes the wrong process or thing, because it's very
mm,
easy. It's very
mm,
easy to just talk about things without really having solid information
mm.
behind it.
Yeah, so the process to recycle garments, polyester garments, for example, to new polyester garments will be here within the next year. But it's also a chemical recycling.
Right. So, okay, that's a little bit clearer for me. Thank you. A lot of fibers also done by lensing, and these are
Mhm.
all done on industrial scale, I believe.
Mhm.
Oh, so using these fibers, are there any real benefits to the environment when companies use these type of fibers?
With the man-made cellulosic fibers, it's very important that you work with a supplier that is using FSC certified wood. So the wood has to be from a plantation and not from Asian forests. When you work with lensing products, then you can be sure that they are really sustainably sourced.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is one of the important points. The second important point is when the wood is then manufactured into the yarn, to have a closed loop. So the chemicals that are used, which are for viscose, for example, quite poisoning, that they do not leave the manufacturing plant in any way. Because, for example, for viscose in China, it was the case that the sulfur acid and caustic soda that they are using, those are chemicals, when you put in a finger, the finger is gone. They were using it in open jiggers, and the damps went out of the factory into the next village and poisoned the people there. They got a nervous disease, something like Parkinson. And this should not happen. And this does not happen in factories that really care about their setup and have the closed loop production. You have the possibility to have 40% of the yarn made with renewed feedstock. So it is also feedstock from landfills. So you can take certain materials, plastics that would otherwise land on landfill, which is a huge circular content, 40%.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't even know that. I don't think I had this information, because I thought it's entirely made out of the wood chips. Or
It's 60% the wood chip and 40% is this other component which you can do from recycled plastics like polyester or PET
Mhm.
or other plastics that are not recyclable today.
Oh, that's great. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much for clarifying this.
Yeah, but the future in fashion, I think, to be sustainable, you have to reduce the consumption. You have to encourage the people to buy less, to reuse, to repair or remake. or recycled. But it's crucial that the attitude towards clothing and towards fashion changes. I see it also in myself. Already a long time, I'm buying a little bit for more expensive and nice material, and then I keep it. I keep it for years. And this is important, that you enlarge the time that you use your garments. And when you use it 6 months more, then you reduce the impact on the earth about on half, because people use the garments 1 year and then they are thrown away. So it's much better when you care for yourself, and everybody has to do something, because everybody is contributing to be sustainable or not sustainable.
That's true. Yes.
Every single person affects the change.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's just like our perspective, and you're right. It's a change of mindset. We have to
Yeah.
consuming less.
Yeah, when you see a garment you like in a store, then you have to ask yourself, do I really need this? Don't I have a similar one in my closet already? And then often you have to say, oh yes, I already have something which is really very similar, so I don't need this one.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like addiction kind of, it's almost like an addiction. We're trying to, by buying new clothes, we think that we feel, sorry, we think that we feel a void, some kind of void,
Mm-hmm.
which really is not being filled by my clothes. It just has to be filled a different way. Yes, interesting. I think this is the change of mindset that has to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a question whether enough consumer would pay more to own less.
It's actually in education, and I even kind of almost calculated. It is like, I don't know if you've heard this saying, but it's cheaper in the long run to buy more expensive things
Mm-hmm.
than vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot. It's a big saving if everyone just kind of. It also comes with a change of mindset, but they would save a lot of money, energy, improve their self-esteem, be happy
Yes.
if they buy more expensive, more meaningful and purposeful clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I totally.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm. And normally the price of a garment is linked to the quality of the material.
Of course. Yeah.
And with better material, you feel better.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. No, it's so true. Thank you. So well, I'm so glad we had this conversation. It's been absolute pleasure, and I hope we'll meet again. We'll find
Yes,
time. I
sure.
know you're busy, but I hope we'll meet again. And I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you to giving me the opportunity to talk to you, Asi.
Thank you so much.